How's it going, everybody? So I wanted to go over briefly and succinctly why voluntarism is not compatible with a concept of whole body slavery. That is selling somebody or being, sold by oneself as a pure form of property, chattel, as you might say, in a legal norm, historical norm context. And the reason is pretty straightforward. The reason is that because the brain continues to exert influence over the body, a person can never truly put their whole body as property to somebody else, simply because no matter what, your brain is going to continue to exert control and dominance over the body. And to make a simple example out of this that would make it pretty clear, imagine you're trying to sell a car, right? And you're like, okay, I'm going to give you my car for $5,000, whatever, you go sign everything, and all of a sudden the person who bought the car from you goes to go in the driver's seat, and all of a sudden they're like, wait a second, what are you still doing there, right? You're sitting in the driver's seat, like, oh, well, I sold you the car, I'm just going to sit here. And you'd sit there and say, how am I going to use this car the way I want if you're going to sit in the driver's seat, right? It'd be ridiculous. It'd be ludicrous. And the same thing happens with the body. If you try to say, oh, well, the person is chattel, they're property, like any other property, and it starts to make more sense when you look at it that way in kind of a pure action kind of sense. And this ties in with the common notions of property as well. When you think of property in a legal sense, you think of a bundle of rights, as it's often taught in your Property 1 law classes. But it's a bundle of rights. That's how people understand it, right? If you own something fully, it gives you the right to use it, to keep it from others using it, to put it into something else, to morph it, to destroy it, to do what, pretty much whatever you want with it within the context of other people's, rights and of course your other property. You can't really do that with another person, right? If somebody is, sold as property, and let's just say, something that might be common in historical, slavery, someone starts beating that person, and the other person's like, no, please stop, right? Yeah, that would be obviously a big problem, because you can't have somebody trying to exert claims over that body that you're beating, because it's violating that property right. In as much as you might say, well, okay, I could beat this chapstick here, right? And it's not an inanimate object. It's not, nothing's exerting control over this. It's like, well, yeah, of course I can do that. I could take this chapstick and I can smack it all I want, and it's not saying anything. I can use it. I could choose to throw it away, whatever. You can't do that with people, because again, the brain is constantly exerting control. Now, with that in mind, it is easy to see how it makes sense that, okay, someone could sell a part, right? Let's just say you wanted to sell a kidney. Well, you can alienate that kidney from the body. It's no longer being exerted with electrical impulses on, and so you could have that removed, right? Someone could, and and that's normal now. Someone could easily donate a kidney. They could donate blood. They could donate plasma. They can donate, other types of body parts or tissues. Even now, it's not a weird thing to think about, and that could be fully alienated. It's no longer being exercised, with control over. And so that would really be the extent and limitations there of what you could do or not do under the principles of voluntarism, again, as far as trying to maximize consent, but of course minimize the initiation of violence. Now, if you want the whole body to be property, the only way you get to that point is after you're dead. So if somebody is going to be alienated and it's their whole body, it really only is something that can happen after death, and that's not really too strange either. Again, tons of people donate their body to medical science, research, or possibly in the event of medical emergencies, people will give their body parts, to whoever may need it, heart or something like that, heart transplant. Again, that makes sense. When you think of it that way, you're like, oh, well, of course, I guess it's kind of obvious, right? You don't take a heart out of a living person. The same thing goes as to the concepts of trying to say, oh, someone can be sold into slavery. Again, you can't do that under voluntarism. It's unethical, because the body is consistently initiating possession claims through the electrical impulses in the brain and the body, and so it just cannot be. It's both a philosophical a philosophical, you could say, maxim that cannot be breached. And it's also something that is, of course, considered unethical otherwise. But it just clearly doesn't work for the most obvious reasons. Someone can't fully exercise that chattel property because it's like that somebody else is like, whoa, I don't want that anymore, that hurts or whatever. Suddenly they're exercising claim back on that property, right? And that's going to increase the whole concept of people having violence pushed upon them. It's not minimizing violence through maximizing consent at that point, right? People should be able to freely alienate to the best they can. However, when it comes to the whole body, it just doesn't even make sense. So I hope that makes things clear about the voluntarism, non-aggression principle, as far as the concepts of slavery and why it just doesn't fit whatsoever into the ethics of liberty and voluntarism, both pragmatically and from an ethical, moral standpoint. All right, take care, everyone. I'll talk to you all later.